How many customers does each territory have? And we want to know the territory ID, the name, country, region code, group, and how many customers they have. So these are values that we've not seen anywhere. There's nothing in the person that talks about territory, nothing in the phone number that talks about territory. Up in human resources. So some of this is to really track down and find where this information is. And if we keep scrolling, down here in sales, we see one that says sales territory. And if we look in here, we see territory ID, name, country, region code, group. These are things we're looking for. Territory ID, name, country, region code, and group. That's awesome. 4 of them are there. And now we need to know how many customers each territory has. But there's nothing in here that identifies customer. So if we scroll back up, we see that there's a sales.customer table. And in there, we have a customer ID, a person ID, and a territory ID. So this gives us some information. We can see that that territory ID is a foreign key into this table. So we can connect them that way. So here we have customers with a territory ID, so we can count those. And to get that, how many? Nothing stores this. This is something we're going to have to create our own table to figure this out. So let's start with that inside table. Let's create this table. And we want to get territory ID and count it. And I'm going to label this as customer count. And now where do we want to get that from? So we know that territory ID exists in the customer table and in the sales territory table, but we really want to get a count of how many customers. And the sales territory table doesn't give us any information about customers. So we're really going to have to get this from sales customer. I'm going to give this an alias. I'm just going to do a C for customer. And we're going to group by territory ID. Oh, looks like we might not need that alias. Okay, so there we have the territories listed and the customer counts. And that's what we needed for the how many. So this is a table we're going to want to use in our query and join that customer count with the sales territory to get the other information that name, country, region code, and group. Right now, all we have is the territory ID, but we want to get that other information from that table. So this will be one of our tables. So the way we use this as a table is to select, right? This is a derived table, and whenever you use a derived table, you need to give it an alias, and I'll just call it TCC for territory customer count. So now that has an alias, and that can be one of our tables. So let's build our select. So we know that the things that we need are, I'll just copy these over so we can figure out what they are. So territory ID starts with a capital T and is a single word. So there we've got territory ID. Name is spelled that way. Country, region, code is just like that. Group and how many. And we know how many is this customer count from this derived table that we're using. All right, so those are the things we need. Where are we going to get them from? Well, we're going to get them from our table, this derived table, which is pretty small, so that'll make a great first table. And okay, so there's our first table, and we're going to want to join that with the table that we need our other information for, which is the sales territory table. And how are they connected? Well, let me give it an alias first, as I'm just going to call this sales territory. And the way they're connected is sales territory has a territory ID. and territory customer count, that table, right, has a territory ID. And that's how they're connected. So now we've got those two joined, but we've got some squiggly lines here. So let's see what we have. Now I'm not sure why we're getting so many squiggly names, because I know territory ID, name, country, region code, and group are all there. I'm going to go ahead and execute this and see if it'll give me some information. So it says incorrect syntax near keyword group. So here we have a column name called group, which is what it is in the table, but group is a key word. So this is a conflict, and to get past this, we can use square brackets to identify this as a column name. We can also use square brackets to identify a table name that uses a key word. So since group is a key word, and it is in fact the column name, we have to identify it using square brackets. Okay, that got rid of lots of our red squiggly lines. We still have one over territory ID, and that says it's ambiguous, the territory ID. And that's because territory ID is both in our derived table and in sales territory. So we just simply need to say it's with one of them. So we can just say use the one in TCC. And that gets rid of that squiggly line. Now let's go ahead and execute. And there we go. We got a count of how many customers were in each territory. And we were able to list the ID, the name, the country region code, and the group that they are all in. And there's one last thing we need to do, and that is order them by the number of customers. So here they're not numerically in order, so we can order by, and here we'll use the customer count. And there we have the results in order. Oh, with the most on top, and this is the least. So to get the most, we need to change it to descending order. Ascending order is the default, and this way we get it in descending order. And there we have it.